Christian Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Heaven, Living with Eternity in View by Paul Mallard, narrated by Tom Parks. Part 1. So Many Questions. My dad was a big bloke. After the war, he married my mom and worked in a grocer's shop in Birmingham. Back in the 40s, the shopkeeper cut the bacon on a bacon slicer. I remember the tapestry of scars on his hands where he had come too close to the rotating blade. He was a great dad, and my childhood was very happy. He wasn't a Christian, but when I was converted at 11, he and my mom were fully supportive. When he was 50, he came to visit me for the weekend at college. We talked about my faith, and I gave him a daily devotional to read. A couple of days later, I got a letter from him. I have it in front of me now. Dad wrote, "I was up at 6 o'clock this morning, so I had time to read a passage from Every Day with Jesus regarding the meaning of the cross. I shall continue to read one each morning. I also prayed and invited God into my heart. I was very impressed with the passage Revelation chapter 3, verse 20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open, I will come into him, and I will sup with him, and he with me. I'm glad we talked together this weekend, Paul. I begin to realize the joy you must derive from your Christian life." It was no flash in the pan. Dad became a disciple of Christ. He was baptized and became a deacon in the church where my wife Edri and I were converted. He loved Jesus, devoured the Bible, and had a simple and obvious joy. At the age of 60, they discovered he had inoperable cancer. He was given 6 months. He lasted 9. My dad was a big bloke, but the cancer diminished him. He seemed to shrink physically, but his spirit and his faith were strong. Along with my mom and sister, I nursed my dad during the last 3 days of his life. He still had big hands covered with tiny scars. I held his hands, and we talked about heaven. "Tell me about it. Most of all, tell me about Jesus. I can't wait to see him," he said. As we talked together, I think we both felt God's presence with us in the valley of the shadow of death. We had a glimpse of glory. My dad died at 10:15 in the morning on 31 July 1985. It was the day before his 61st birthday. But was he right? Was he going to see Jesus? Is heaven real? Does it exist at this very moment in time? Would he even be conscious of anything? We buried my dad with words about the sure and certain hope of the resurrection of the dead. But what does that mean? Can we have any certainty, or is it just wishful thinking? Is hope the worthless crutch on which feeble people who cannot face reality rest their weight? And if there is such a place as heaven, what will it be like? Where will it be? Who will be there? Will we know each other? What will we do? We all have questions about heaven. God does not tell us everything we might want to know, but he tells us everything we need to know. In this first section, I will explore some fundamental questions about the nature of the home Jesus is preparing for us. By the end of this book, I hope to have answered many of your questions. But more than that, my sincere desire is that a glimpse of glory will change your life. Chapter 1. Where is your heart? I was 14 when I read Tortured for Christ by Richard Wurmbrand. Wurmbrand was a Romanian pastor during the dark days when the Communist Party persecuted the church. He was imprisoned for 14 years for the crime of preaching Christ. He was regularly tortured. For the rest of his life, he bore the scars. Years after reading the book, I had the privilege of listening to him speak. I will never forget what he said. Some nights, I would sit in my cell, feeling pain in every part of my body. I was cold and hungry and exhausted, and yet I would sing songs of joy. My captors could take away my possessions and my comforts. They could take away my family and my freedom. They could take away my dignity and my health. They could even take away my life. But what they could not take from me was the grip of the nail-pierced hands of my Savior. They could not take Jesus from me.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?